Yeah, good afternoon, guys. I'm Adul.
Good afternoon, sir.
I will share my screen. Can stop. Can share my screen. Guys, today concept is translators. What are the translators we have in Java, and what is the purpose of translators in Java? So I requested you guys daily we'll be having a session 2 o'clock. I would say in this week. From Monday, like we don't know the timings, I will update the timings. So make sure you compulsory you can be in the timings. So why? Because we'll be having very less time actually. So within the less time we are completing the syllabus. So don't miss any class. If you miss the class, I'm saying if you miss the class, you compulsory you don't understand the Java. So please don't miss the class. Today concept is translators. In the Java, the main purpose of translators is to convert one format to another format. Purpose of main purpose of translators is to convert one format to another format. To convert one format to another format. Okay, what are the translators we have in Java, sir? Yes, we have the translators in Java. Those are like we have three translators in Java. We have three translators in Java. Those are the first one is compiler, and the second one is interpreter, interpreter, and third one is assembler, assembler. And what does it mean by compiler? What it will do? So last session we discussed about the compiler. Compiler is the tool. Oh, hmm. Uh, Compiler is the tool which will first it will check the syntax mistakes. There is no syntax mistake, then it will generate the bytecode. So like the Java is .java is the one format. Is converting one format to another format, one format to another format, one format to it will convert one format to another format at a time. It will convert one format to another format at a time, at a time. But in case of interpreter also it will convert like the program line by line. It will convert the program line by line. So that is the drawback actually. It will convert the program line by line. Line by line. For example, you can assume in my program, it will contains like around 500 lines, not 500 lines. You can assume 200 lines like that. So the same process, the converting process that work if I give to the interpreter, it will take like at least if you take for execution one statement, it will take at least 1,000 seconds. 1,000 seconds. So the main drawback of the interpreter is it will convert the one format to another format, but it will convert line by line only. If our program it will having like 100 lines, so for every line it will take some time. So this is the drawback actually. So interpreter also one translator, it will convert one program, it will convert the program line by line, and assembler is also one translator. which is used to convert assembler language to assembler language to machine language. Nowadays assembler language nobody is using. So nowadays assembler language nobody is using. So it is used to convert assembler language to machine language. Nowadays nobody is using the assembling language. No, so that's why we are not discussing about the assembler. We are discussing about these two translators. In Java, we have three translators. First one is the compiler, second one is the interpreter. Compiler, which will convert, like the main purpose of the translator is they will convert one format to another format. The format should be anything, they will convert one format to another format. We have three translators. First one is the compiler, second one is the interpreter. Interpreter, it will convert one format to another format at a time. For example, if you write the Java program, it is converting all the file at a time. At a time itself, it will converting all the Java file into the bytecode. It will convert at a time. But in case of interpreter, it will convert Java program line by line only. Line by line only. So it will convert line by line. It will take, for executing the entire the file, it will take some time. It will take some time. And next thing, assembler, which is used to convert assembling language to machine language. So nowadays assembling language nobody is using. So that's why we are not discussing about the assembling language. After this, we should know JVM architecture. JVM architecture is the very important. So like JVM architecture is the very important. So first thing, JVM meaning Java Virtual Mission. So we can't see with our eyes. So it is virtual actually. It is virtual. So Java virtual JVM is the meaning Java virtual mission. Java virtual mission. It will having the architecture. I will draw the diagram and I will show. It will having some subcomponents. Each subcomponent is having different purpose. So we'll discuss about the JVM architecture. JVM architecture is the very important topic. So I will draw the diagram and I will show you how the JVM architecture will be there. I will open my MS Paint. This is my MS Paint. So I will increase my size. Okay. I will take some another color. Okay, fine. First, here we will write the Java programs. The Java programs we will compile and it will be convert like as the dot class files. Dot class files. So the same thing I will write here. The same thing I will write here. From here to here. Here we will be having, we can say these are the source files. Whatever the code we are writing in our local, those files are called source files. These all are Java extensions, meaning programs, Java programs, Java programs, Java programs. Here we will compile with the help of compiler. We will compile with the help of compiler, and all the files will be converted as the dot class files. Dot class files. So after this, whenever you give the Java command, then JVM. So JVM is the like very important. So now whenever you give the Java command, then JVM comes into the picture and JVM execute our program. Then we need to try. I would say today we'll try to understand like JVM architecture. What are the internal components it will having? So we'll try to understand internally concept. So whenever you are giving the Java command, then our JVM will start. JVM will start. The JVM will be having internal structure like this. The first thing it will be having, I will be take different color. Here will be having first is the class loader. Class loader. What the main purpose of the class loader? What class loader will do? JVM other language is which one? Bytecode. Bytecode or dot class files. Bytecode or dot class files. So the main purpose of class loader is it will take the dot class files into the JVM. This one name is, I would say, class loader. Class loader. So the first head of the JVM is the class loader. What the purpose of the class loader is, it will load dot class files into the JVM. This is the JVM, I would say, main diagram. In this, we'll be having the subcomponents. First one is the class loader. Main purpose of the class loader is it will load dot class files into the JVM. This is the JVM architecture. It will load dot class files into the JVM. JVM. After like loading the dot class files into the JVM, so based on the syntax, it will give the memory. It will give the memory. The memory sections will be different. I will give these box will be having the memory section. This entire box are the memory section. So it will be having again sub internal parts. This is one part, and this is one part, and this is one part, and this is one part. So the entire box is memory section. So internally JVM have memory section. In that it will give the values. It will organize our code. How it will organize? We'll see. This is the memory section. There first it will have. So after I would say it will load dart class files into the JVM. After that, it will like the class code will be stored in the method area. This is the method area. This is the method area. I will take some different color. This one is the method area. This one is the method area. Method area purpose is it will store the class code. This one is the method area. Method area purpose is it will store the class code. Whatever the code we have written under the class, so the code will be stored in the method area. Second box is heap area. Heap area. Heap area meaning for every class we will create objects. Objects. That objects will be created. That objects will be stored in the heap area. That objects will be stored in the heap area. That objects will be stored in the heap area. Next thing is PC register. PC register. PC register meaning like in our program it will be having I would say lines. So it will have the information like which line is currently executing and which line should be like which now the next line will be execute. Line information it will be having. It will contain the lines information. It will contain the lines information. And next one thing is Java stack. Java stack. Java stack is the memory name. It will be having the information like in our program. For example, if you take the class this one, under the class we'll be having the variables and methods. The methods might be you can take any like any number of methods you can take. Based on the requirement, we will take the methods. In the Java stack, it will have the information which method is executing currently. So the method's execution information will be available under the Java stack. Java stack. And next thing is native stack. Native stack. Native stack is the memory which will store the information of non-Java codings. Like to be frank, JVM is the architecture. So the JVM, the entire structure is designed with the help of C plus C plus language. C plus language basically. Like you can able to run the C plus language also in our Java, in our Java. So such kind of, I would say, non-Java related codes also we can, if you write, if you are trying to write the non-Java related code, that code will be stored in the native stack. That code will be stored in the native stack. So this is memory section of the JVM. JVM, under the JVM memory section, it will be having multiple, I would say, different compartment, I would say sections. Like first one is the method area, which is used to store the class code. Next one is the heap area, which is used to create the which is used to store the objects. In, I would say, uh, after the OOPS concept, we are for every class we will create the objects. Java is the object oriented. Every object will be stored in the heap area. Every object in the stored in the heap area. And next, PC register. PC register is the memory. It will have the information like which line is executing currently, which line is executing currently, which line has executed previously. So that line's information under the PC register, it will maintain lines information. Java stack is the memory, which will have the information like which method is executing currently, which method has executed previously. So methods information will be available under the Java stack. PC register, lines information available under the PC register. PC register. And native stack meaning non-Java related code will be stored in the native stack. Native stack. So these are the, in the under the JVM architecture, these are the memory sections. These are the memory sections. Memory sections like method area, heap area, PC register, Java stack, and native stack. Native stack. After this, we'll be having one that one component, that is, I would say, execution engine. Execution engine. So I will run it and execution engine. So execution is the very important component of the JVM architecture. You can assume this is the execution engine. So like after like loading the dart class files into the JVM, so based on the syntax and like based on the code, like the JVM is divided and the JVM allocated some memory to our code. So execution, who will execute our our code? Interpreter will execute. So this is the execution engine. So I will write the execution engine. Here we'll be having the execution engine. This is the execution engine. Execution engine. Here interpreter will be there. Interpreter. You can assume. So at the I would say execution engine, interpreter is the like one translator which will use to compile our dart class files into language. But if I use only interpreter, it will convert only one line only. If I if the program have multiple lines, if the dart class files have multiple lines, but the interpreter can able to execute only line by line. If I approach the only one interpreter, then the execution it will take a lot of time. So that is the drawback. So how will you avoid that issue? So that's why we are using one more translator, that is the JIT. JIT is also one translator. So which will convert our dart class files into the mission. Now these two translators, like interpreter is the one translator and JIT is the one translator. They together can translate our dart class files into the machine language. So now the performance will increase or decrease compared to previous one. Performance will increase. So due to increase in our performance, so JIT they will add the JIT to the execution engine. Execution engine. So if I go only first approach, our execution very slow. So to avoiding that issue, they will add the JIT also. So now the both interpreter and JIT together they will compile. They will convert one format to another format. They will convert. They both together can convert one format to another format. So this much is clear. Interpreter and JIT, and here we'll be having some native libraries also. Some native libraries. This is the one diagram for native library, and this is the one diagram for the native libraries. This main purpose is these are the native libraries. Native libraries meaning like you can write like a C plus coding also. So some predefined packages and everything will be available under the native libraries. So if you want to execute like a C plus language, so we can use the native libraries. We can use the native libraries. So with the help of native interface. Native interface is the mediator in between the native libraries and execution engine. So with the help of native interface, execution engine can load the native libraries. So native interface is the mediator in between the native libraries and execution engine. With the help of native interface, it can able to load the native libraries to the execution. So this is all about JVM architecture. So I will explain one more time. Like if anyone stuck in middle, so they will get the clarity. So this is the first step. Like writing our Java programs is the first step. So normally we will write the Java programs. That programs we can call source files. After the source files, we will compile. Compiler is the one tool. So with the help of that tool, we will convert Java files into the dot class files. So the compiler will generate JVM. Whenever you give the Java command, JVM comes into the picture. So here the JVM will be having multiple subcomponents. The first thing is the class loader. The main purpose of the class loader, it will load dot class files into the JVM. It will load dot class files into the JVM. So that is the third step it will do. So after this, into the JVM, after this, based on the syntax, and it will check like the JVM check all our code, and based on our code, based on our syntax, it will allocate the memory. All class code should be. It will allow memory method area, and we will create the objects. Objects will be. It will give allocate the memory in the heap area, and lines, which line is execution of lines, that information available in the PC register, and which method is executing, that information will be available on the PC stack, Java stack. And next thing, native stack meaning not related Java, that code will be stored in the native stack. So after this, execution engine is the very important part of the JVM, and this will be having two components. One is the interpreter, second one is the JIT. So why they has introduced the JIT? Because if you go only the first interpreter approach, the program is very execution process is very low. So to avoiding the such issue, they has introduced the JIT. Now they both together, they can convert from dart class files to machine language. And here we'll be having the native libraries. The native libraries will be having the one mediator. It will load libraries to the execution engine. Native libraries to the execution engine. So this is all about JVM architecture. So this one, anyone have any confusion? JVM architecture. You can observe 1 minute and any questions about the JVM architecture. JVM architecture is very important for going programming. Why? Because like in the OOPS concept, everything we will create the objects. There at the time we are saying this object is will be stored in this part of the JVM. This object will be stored in part of the JVM. So at the time we will use the these words. These words. So you should aware JVM architecture. You should aware JVM architecture. So if I open a document also, no, that is the virtual mission. Virtual mission. So we can't see with our eyes. This diagram also, like the Sun microsystem, has released this information. Nobody can't see the JVM. That is the JVM virtual mission. If you can observe the diagram, the JVM the architecture. This is our Java files, and we are converting the Java files into the bytecode, and the class loader will be there. It will load dot class files into the JVM, and in the JVM we'll be having the memory section like method area, heap area, Java stack, PC register, native stack. So each purpose we discussed already. Method area which will store the class code, heap area which will objects like objects will be stored in the heap area, Java stack which will take care methods execution, PC register it will take care lines execution, native stack non-Java code will be stored in the native stack, and after that we'll be having the execution engine. It will be having interpreter and JIT. So if you go only one interpreter, it will the program is very slow. Why? Because interpreter is the translator which can translate only one line by line. So the process is too late. That's why we are using the JIT also. Now the both together can translate one format to another format. Libraries, native libraries, which will be having the non-coding related libraries. So native interface is the intermediate to load native libraries into the execution engine. So you can observe the same thing will be have. It will load dot class files into the JVM. Method area meaning class load will be stored, and heap area meaning object will be stored in the heap area, and Java stack meaning method execution will be stored in the here, and PC register you can observe it will maintain next line information to execute, and native stack it will maintain non-Java code execution information, and native stack it will load native libraries into the JVM, and
Java libraries.
non-Java libraries which are required for the native code execution. Code execution. You can observe execution engine which is responsible to execute the program, provide the output result. It will use interpreter and JIT. Interpreter and JIT for the execution. So clear. This much is clear. This is JVM architecture. So JVM architecture is very important. C++. Basically, this architecture JVM initially, this is to be frank, this is also developed by the C plus language only. C plus language only. So at the time of before C plus, this is also developed with the help of C plus language only. So that's why non-Java meaning you can write C language also. If you write the C language, it will don't throw any errors also. You can write the C plus C language also. So that is non-Java meaning not related to Java. So before going to start the programming, we should be aware of these things. Whatever like till now we discussed like language, programming language, and after that we have seen like how the program build and the process, the program execution flow, and after that program structure. Program structure is very important. After that, JVM architecture, translators, and JVM architecture. This much is clear, I hope. So all are the JIT also one translator. It will convert at a time. Hmm. JIT it will convert at a time. Interpret also they both together they can will convert. They both together they convert one format to another format. Hmm? Doesn't support interpreter. Who will? Uh, Both together they are converting one format to. Huh? Hmm? Pseudo compilers. సపోర్ట్ చేస్తుంది రెండు ఉంటాయి ఇంటర్ప్రిటర్ అండ్ జిట్ టుగెదర్ దే కెన్ కన్వర్ట్ టు వన్ ఫార్మాట్ టు సో దిస్ ఇస్ ద ఆర్కిటెక్చర్ నా ఇన్ దిస్ డయాగ్రామ్ విల్ బి హ్యావింగ్ క్లియర్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ టుగెదర్ ఇంటర్ప్రిటర్ ప్లస్ జిట్ both together they are converting one format to another format. Okay, so before going to start the like programming, so these are the basic things we should aware of this. Then only uh, basic things and very important, very important. Like if you don't know like the JVM architecture, like you don't understand that the Java concepts also, Java concepts also. So next thing is I will start with variables. I will start with the variables concept. Normally in Java, variable which is a container which is used to store the data, which is a container which is used to store the data. For example, you can take some 10 value, some 10 value. This 10 value we need to store somewhere. So for storing this 10 value, we'll be having one container. We'll be having one container. So you can assume this is the one container. This container is holding the values the 10. This container name is you can give a. This is the variable. This is the variable. This variable is holding the values the 10. Holding the value is the 10. So in the same way, the first point in case of in purpose in I would say in perspective of variables, the first point is variables. It is used to store the which is it is used to store the data. Which is used to store the data. That is the first point. And second point, in case of variables, we need to specify what kind of data you want to store in variable. We need to specify. We need to specify. We need to specify what kind of data you want to store in the variable. We need to specify what kind of data you want to store in the variable. Store in the variable. This is the second point. In case of, I would say, perspective, we need to remember first point is variables, it is used to store the data. Second point is we need to specify what kind of data you want to store the variable. To specifying the data types, to specifying the data, we will use data types. That is the third point. To specify the data, we will use data types. Data types. So we will discuss about the data types also, but you should be aware of data types. To specify the data, we will use the data types. We will use the data types. Is there any syntax for the variables? Yes, we have the syntax. The syntax for the variable declaration is, first we need to mention data type, data type, and variable name, variable name. So this is the variable declaration. This is the variable declaration, and we can say this is the syntax. This is the syntax. This is the variable syntax, data type, and variable name. Variable name. This is the variable syntax, data type, and variable name. Okay, sir. Then what does it mean by data type? And is there any types we'll be having? Yes, the data type. The main purpose of data type is used to specify the data you want to store to the variable. For example, I will show you. So this one is clear about variables. Variables is used to store the data, and so that is the first point in case of variables. Second point is we need to specify what kind of data you want to store in the variable. Third point is to specify the data we will use the data types, and syntax for the data types. So data type and variable name, this is the variable declaration. This is the variable declaration. After this we'll try to understand about the data types, about the data types. Data types main purpose is to specify the data, to specify the data. So data types are divided into two parts. Data types are divided into two parts. Two parts. One is I will draw the diagram here. I will draw the diagram here. So divided, I would say data types is divided into two types. One is primitive and non-primitive. And what does it mean by primitive and what does it mean by non-primitive? Anyone have any idea? What does it mean by primitive and what? So and again under the primitive also will be having different sections. Before going to the different sections, what does it mean by primitive and what does it mean? That are different sections. Under the primitive, we'll be having different sections like number. If you go for the number section, under the number section, we'll be having the byte, short, int, long. This is the under category of number. Under the category of decimal, we'll be having float, double, float, comma, double, and the third category is char, and fifth char, and next one is boolean. So these are comes under the primitive data type. I am asking, these are the different sections. What does it mean by primitive data type? Hmm. Hmm. Okay, I will tell. Primitive data types is the predefined data types. Primitive data types is the predefined data types. So JDK already introduced the primitive data types. These are the predefined data types. It can hold only one value. It can hold only one value. Primitive data types are the predefined data types. These are the predefined data types. predefined data types. It can hold only one value. It can hold only one value. For example, if you can take the byte is the data type, a is the variable. If I store the term, yes, it is valid. If I want to store one more value, the same variable, no, it is impossible. Why? Because primitive data type, we can say predefined data type, it can hold only one value. It can hold only one value. So if I want to store the multiple values, then we'll go for the non-primitive. These are, we can say, user-defined data types. User-defined data types. User-defined data types. User-defined data types. Those are like, those are like, first one is the strings, and second one is the arrays, and next one is the class. These all are comes under the user-defined data types, and these all are comes under the predefined data types. Predefined data types. This one is clear. Data type, main purpose of data types is to specify the data. To specify the data, and under the data types we will be having, data types is categorized into two sections, two parts. One is the primitive, second one is the non-primitive. What does it mean by primitive? Meaning those are predefined. Predefined. Like under the predefined section, we'll be having the number, decimal, char, and boolean. Boolean. Under the number section, we'll be having byte, short, int, long. So you might be get the one question, the same all are comes under the same category. Is there any the difference between the byte and short, int and long? Is the only difference is size. Only difference is the size. So we can, I will tell the some psychological example here in this case. For example, we can assume water bottles. So if you take the half liter water bottle, it can hold only half liter. If you take the 1 liter bottle, it can hold the 1 liter of water. If you can take the 1.5 liter water bottle, it can hold the 1.5 liter of water. If you take the 2 liters water bottle, it can hold the 2 liters of water. In the same way, the difference between the like under the number category data types is only the difference is the size. The difference is the size. Byte have the different size, and short has the different size. Long int has the different size, and long has the different size. Among those, widely we will use int. Widely, like usually we will use the integer. So after this, decimals meaning it will be having decimals, like for example, if I want to mention some person's salary, or the if you, the value should be like some decimals, dot 00, like this. If you want to specify the value into the decimal format, then we will go for the decimal approach, decimal approach, and decimal approach. And char meaning, char is the, it can hold the value, it can hold the single characters. For example, a, and the single character should be in single quotations, single quotations. It can hold the single character only. Char meaning it can hold the single characters. Boolean meaning it will tell, give only true or false, only true or false, true or false, true or false, true or false. So if you want to store the group of characters, then we'll be having strings concept. So strings, with the help of strings you can able to store the group of characters. And so under the data types category, we'll be having two sections. One is the primitive, second one is the non-primitive. Primitive also you can say predefined, it can hold only one value. And non-primitive, you can say user-defined data types. It can hold multiple numbers, multiple values. Is there any examples? Yes, we have the examples. Strings, arrays, class. These are all the examples. These all are the examples. So this much is clear about the variables and data types. So the same thing I will open the notes, class notes, and variables and data types. You can read the first line.
Variables are used to store the data during the program execution.
Okay. And next line.
We specify types of variables to store the data.
Okay. And third line.
To specify type of data, we use data types.
Okay. Fourth one.
To declare the variable in Java, we need to use syntax.
Syntax. Syntax is first
Data
one is the
type,
data type,
variable name.
second one is the variable. And okay, next
Data
about
types.
data type first line.
Data types are used to specify the type of data.
Okay.
There
Next
are two
next line.
types of data types.
Uh, what are the two types?
Primitive data type, non-primitive data type.
Under the primitive data type category, we will be having different
Number,
sections.
decimal.
Number, decimal, character, boolean. Under the number category, we will be having byte,
Short,
short,
int,
int,
long.
long. Under the decimal category,
Float,
float,
double.
double. Under the char type category,
Char.
we will be having only one data type, that is the char. Under the boolean type, we will be having a boolean. If you can observe reference types meaning user defined. These under these category, we will be having array,
String,
string,
class.
class. Okay. The size, I'm saying only the difference is size. The size is should be like this. You can store in, if you go for the byte case, you can store the value in between 128 to 127. In between only you can take. If you take another number instead, apart from this, if you take any other number, then it will throw the error. It will throw the error. It will throw the error. You can observe the byte d is equal to example is 10. So you can take in between the number only. You can take normally predefined data types are used to store the only one value. The one value also should be in between 128 to 127 only. If you take instead of this one, if you take any number, it will throw error. So at the time, if you mention the byte data type, you compulsory should take in between the number only. In between the number only. If you won't take in between this number, if you take another number, it will throw the error. This much is clear. And next one is short. Short meaning only the difference is capacity. Only the difference is capacity. So it will be having the capacity is 8 bits. It can able to store 8 bits. And the second thing is short. Short is it will be having the capacity 16 bits. The value is range in between 32,000 to 32,000, minus 32,000 to 32,000. You can remember approximately. Okay, 32,000 to 32,000. If you take in between the number only, it will allow. If you take any other number instead of this, then it will throw the error. It will throw the error. Next thing is int. It will be having the capacity is 32 bit, and the range is, this one is approximately 214 5, so nearly 2.1 crore, I guess. 21 crore, 200 crores I plus, I guess. So this is very big number. This is very big number. So you can take whenever you mention the int data type, you can take in between only. If you take instead of this one, here also it will throw the error. Here also it will throw the error. So next thing is long. Long, it will having the 64-bit capacity, and you can say, you can see the value. You can take in between this number to this number only. This number to this number only. So long is the like normally we will use the int only. This long and these are we will use rare cases only. Rare cases only. So usually we will use the int data type. Int data type. So this much is clear about the decimals. I would say about the integers. This is the integers category. Under the integer category, we'll be having byte, short, int, long. Next, we'll go for the floating data types. If you can observe, the float is also having some capacity. That is the 4 bytes, 32 bits, and we can mention uh, End of the value you can mention with the f. If you can mention with the f. Okay. If you not, and one more thing is the default values also very important. Default values meaning, for example, you declare with like this. For example, I would say float. Float is the data type. A is the variable name. If I give the value, what does it mean? This is the variable initialization. I am giving one value to the variable. Sometimes what will happen, if I won't give the value to the variable, then what will happen? The JVM will provide one value that is the default value. That is the default value. The default value is this one. The default value is 0.00f. If you not initialize the float value, JVM will provide one default value. The default value is 0.00f. So in the interview perspective, as a fresher level, they compulsory will ask the default values. If you not initialize the float default value, then the JVM will give the default value. 0.0f is the default value. And in the same way, double also the capacity is 64 bits, and the default value, if you not mention, if you not initialize the default value, if you not initialize the double, then the JVM will give the default value. The default value is 0.0d. The default value is 0.0d. 0.0d. So this is like for initializing the double. Double is the data type, db is the variable, and 11.123 is the value. That is the data. So about under the float category, this much is clear. Float is having 4 bytes, and if you not initialize, it will give the default value. The default value is the 0.0f, and this is the example for initializing the floating, I would say float data type. Float is the data type, ff is the reference variable name. Variable name you can take anything, and 10.3 is the value. 10.3 is the value. Clear? This much is clear. After that we'll be having the double. Double will be having 8 bytes, 64 bits, and if you not initialize, it will give the default value. The default value is 0.0d, 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 and you can observe the example. Double is the data type, db is the variable name, 11.123 is the value. Next one is the character data type. Character data type. Character data type meaning which is used to store the single characters. Single characters. That characters might be alphabet, digit, special character. You can store using the char type. Char type. So this is the capacity. Char data type will occupy the 2 bytes of memory. And when we are storing the data into the char type, single quotes are mandatory. Single quotes are mandatory. So the range they have given, you can take the range in between 0 to 65,000. Next, Boolean. Boolean, which is used to store the true or false values only. It will occupy only 1 bit of memory. Next, 1 bit is called 8 bits. And default value is true. Default value is false. Default value is false. So this is the example. This is the example for the top. So anyone have any confusion about variables and data types? Variables and data types. So till now we learn about only primitive data types, but coming classes we will learn about the non-primitive also. Non-primitive also. Till now we learn only primitive data types. Why? Because they are already predefined. So what are they predefined? We are just understanding, and we are the things we are understanding, and we are learning those things only. But coming classes we will learn about the user defined data types. These all are very important. User defined data types. Any confusion anyone about the variables and data types? Any confusion? Okay. So next concept is variable initialization and variable declaration. Variable initialization and variable declaration. So first point you can read, variables are used to store the data or value. Both are same. And second point you can read, to store the data into variable, we need to specify the data type. And third point you can read, to store the data into variables, we need to perform two steps. First step is variable declaration. Variable declaration meaning defining variable with data type. Defining variable with data type. And the second one you can observe, variable initialization. Variable initialization means storing the value into variable. Storing the value into the variable. We can complete declaration where initialization in single line. That is like this. That is like this. So the same thing. If I write here, same thing. First one is the variable declaration. For variable declaration, you can define with data type and variable name. You can define with the data type and variable name. First one is the variable declaration. Variable declaration. Variable declaration. We can define with data type and variable name. For example, byte is the data type. This one is the data type, and A is the variable name. A is the variable name. So I am writing here. This is the variable name, and this one is the data type. This one is the data type. We can define with data type and variable name. Then we can say that is the variable declaration. Variable declaration. And second thing is variable initialization. Variable initialization. Variable initialization. That is the syntax like this. Initialization. The syntax should be like this. The first thing you can take the data type anything. I am taking the byte a equal to some 20 a value I am taking. Initialization meaning storing the value into the variable. Storing the value into variable. Into variable. This is the variable initialization. We can write both lines in one statement also. We can write the both statement on one statement also. This one, the like byte, we can take b, and we can take 30. So from here to here, that is the initial declaration. And whenever you are giving the value, then we can say variable initialization. Variable initialization. So this much is clear. Variable declaration and variable initialization. Variable declaration and variable initialization. So like some the same data types, I will write some program like this. I will open my Java batch. Here I will create one more file. No text. File name you can give anything. Now I am giving test.java, and test.java I am giving public class test, and here I would like to take the main method. Why? Because every method starts with the main method only. Public static void main string args string args and I would say hmm, this is the program. Here I would like to write all the data types. For example, if I want to write the byte, and I will mention the b equal to some 10 value. And if I want to write the short, so rt short, if I would like to mention some 20 value. And if I want to write the int, if I mention the int 30. And if I want to write the long, long long, l equal to 40. So like that, the same about the data type also I will give the assignment. I will give the assignment. So the same way I am storing the values. Now I would like to print the values. How can I print? We will take the system dot out dot println. You can give the you can give the variable names. System dot out dot println. Here you can mention the b, and say the same statement you can copy. And uh, I and L, same thing. What we did till now, like we have taken one any program class name, you can take anything. So now I have taken test is the class name. Another class name, we need to take the main method. Why? Because the execution, the JVM will understand the first statement. So from this statement onwards, the JVM will start the execution. The JVM will start the execution. So under the main method, I have declared some variables, that is the byte 10, and short s equal to 20, int I equal to 30, long l equal to 40. Long l equal to 40. So I have stored all the values in the variables. I am calling the value. I am calling the value with the variables with the help of sysout statement. With the help of sysout statement. Huh? Why? No, double quotes is not what. Double. If you want to mention, then we need to mention the double string. For example, if I mention the double quotations here, here I will mention the value of b. The value of b is, and then I would like to mention like this. This is the concatenation. This is the concatenation. So this one we'll see for upcoming classes. Till now, this is the string. Whatever we are mentioning in within the double quotation, that is the string. And the string plus variable, you can say concatenation. Concatenation. Okay, I'm saving the file, and simply where the file is available, there you should go and you should open your command prompt. Control C command prompt. There the first command is java c test dot java. The file has successfully compiled java test. No need to mention dot class. Why? Because JVM mother language is already dot class. Again, no need to mention dot class. Okay, only test is enough. You can observe the value of 10, b is 10, 20, 30, 40, 20, 30, 40. So clear? So like today I will give the assignments, all the primitive data types. Primitive data types. You should primitive data types. You should write the program like this. Like you can take all the primitive data types, whatever the primitive data types you have. Like byte you can take one example, short you can take one example, int you can take one example, long you can take, float you can take, double you can take, char you can take, boolean you can take. With the help of all these primitive data types, you will write the program. Okay. So that's the thing. I'll stop the live.